But note now the rate of descent has completely disappeared. The aircraft is now flying level. And if I were to select full power and maintain 80 knots, we'd of course be back in our climbing attitude. So we can see from this that the airspeed is controlled by attitude, but the rate of descent is being controlled by the power. Useful information for when we come to the circuit. All right, very quickly I'm putting the aircraft back into the glide descent. Good lookout beforehand, 80 knots. Let's now look at the effects of flap. I'm now selecting flap down to 20 degrees. To maintain the speed with the increased drag, I'm having to select a lower nose attitude. Airspeed being controlled by attitude, but rate of descent now has been significantly affected by the flaps. And can you see how our forward visibility is so much improved? Imagine a runway in front of us now, much easier to see. Look where the horizon is cutting through the windscreen, very, very high in the windscreen. Now to reduce the rate of descent, again I can increase the power. So power is still offsetting the rate of descent, but I'm primarily controlling the airspeed by small and careful adjustments of attitude.
Well, we don't only fly in straight lines. Sometimes we have to turn the aircraft. And prior to every turn, it is essential to have a thoroughly good lookout. Now, to enter the turn, we will simply rotate the control column in the direction of turn to set up the bank angle required for the turn, return the control column back to the neutral position, apply a gentle amount of back pressure to prevent the aircraft from descending during the turn, and apply a squeeze of rudder in the direction of turn to maintain the aircraft in balance. And that's the picture you will probably see on a turn to the right. Now, during the turn, we maintain the bank angle at 30 degrees, sufficient back pressure to sustain level flight, and a squeeze of rudder as necessary to keep the aircraft in balance. To recover from the turn, the opposite. Control column back in the opposite direction, wings level, relaxing the back pressure back to the level flight attitude, and adjusting the rudder pressure just as necessary to keep again the aircraft in balance.
Medium level turns. Our aim now is to turn the aircraft in level flight onto selected headings using 30 degrees of bank. So, lookout completed. Rotate the control column in the direction you wish to turn to select a bank angle of 30 degrees. As you approach the 30 degree bank angle, gentle back pressure, selecting a slightly higher nose attitude, and there we are established in the turn. So, 3 B's to check. Bank angle, back pressure, and balance, confirming the aircraft remains in balance with a small amount of rudder in the direction of turn. During the turn, continue to maintain a good lookout, check the nose attitude, the position of the nose against the horizon, and check the instruments. To complete the turn, we simply rotate the control column in the opposite direction, relaxing the back pressure, a squeeze of left rudder in opposite direction to the turn we've just done, and reselecting the straight and level attitude. Let's now look at a turn to the left. Good lookout, rotate the control column to the left, rudder in the direction of the turn, reselecting the 30 degree bank angle, a slight raising of the nose attitude to maintain level flight, and once again the 3 B's. Bank angle correct at 30 degrees. Back pressure, sufficient back pressure to maintain level flight, and balance, ball in the middle. During the turn, lookout, attitude, and instruments. And to recover from this turn, rotating the control column in the opposite direction to the right, a squeeze of right rudder this time, and reselecting the straight and level attitude, relaxing the back pressure we previously held. The medium level turn.
Let's now put together all those lessons we've learnt, climbing, descending, turning, straight and level, into the circuit. This is the name we give to the path that the aircraft will fly at and around the runway. First of all, the climb-out path. Before we turn, a thoroughly good lookout, and we then turn the aircraft onto what is known as the cross-wind leg, climbing to our circuit height of 800 feet. At this point here, again, a very good lookout, in particular towards the downwind, make sure no aircraft is joining downwind, and we then turn onto the downwind leg. The downwind leg is the location where we will do our pre-landing checks. We make our downwind call when abeam the upwind end of the runway. When we reach the downwind end of the runway, we look towards the runway to an angle of approximately 45 degrees from the runway, at which point we turn onto the base leg. The base leg, an important part of the circuit, a busy part of the circuit, where we complete our checks, descending the aircraft to the height at which we turn on to final approach, 500 to 600 feet. Turning on to final approach, and thereafter controlling the approach accurately with both power and attitude down to the landing. And this part we call the finals.
We've completed the pre-takeoff checks, we look towards final approach, and we advise air traffic we're ready for departure. Golf Delta Yankee ready for departure.
Golf Delta Yankee, line up and hold 04.
Line up and hold 04 Delta Yankee. The approach is clear, the runway is clear, and we now taxi to the threshold. As we do so, note the wind direction by looking at the windsock, straight down the runway. No crosswind to affect us. Golf Delta Yankee ready for departure.
Golf Delta Yankee, clear takeoff runway 04, surface wind 04, 0 degrees, 18 knots.
Golf Delta Yankees, clear takeoff runway 04. Fine, takeoff checks completed. We're now ready for departure. We've been given takeoff clearance. Check first of all that the runway is clear. Select a reference point in the distance to which to aim. Check the DI against the compass. Engine gauge is in the green and power to 2000 RPM. Gauge is remaining in the green. Reference point in view. Brakes release, heels on the floor, and smoothly apply full power. Check we have full power, 2200 RPM indicated. Check the gauges are remaining in the green, and they are. And check the airspeed is increasing. It is. And at 65 knots, positive movement back on the control column, into the attitude for the climb. And there we are, immediately selecting the safe climbing attitude, climbing away at our normal climbing speed of 80 knots. Positively airborne, brakes on off, stop the wheel spinning, recheck the engine gauges, maintain the climbing attitude, and check that your reference point is remaining in the 12 o'clock position, such that you do maintain the runway extended centre line. First turn will take place at 500 feet, and just before 500 feet, a good look out, to the right, ahead, to the left, and behind. Clear, and entering a turn, 15 degrees of bank, onto the crosswind heading. All the time maintaining a thoroughly good lookout. Good clear horizon today. We're going to be levelling off at 800 feet, which is the circuit height here at Cranfield, on a crosswind heading that takes us at right angles to the extended runway. Here we are, 800 feet approaching, still in the turn, but no problem. Reselecting the level flight attitude, allowing the airspeed to increase to our circuit speed of 90 knots, reselecting the level flight power, and trimming. Now once the tailplane has cut through the extended centre line, that's the time to turn onto the downwind, and here we go. Turning onto the downwind heading.
Number 1. Right, Zulu number 1. Right, so the further traffic out to your right will be a Cessna joining left base of 0.
Turning onto the downwind heading, which should take us parallel to the runway with a wingtip trailing down the middle of the runway. So downwind call. Golf Delta Yankees downwind left hand for 04.
Delta Yankee, Roger, number 2 behind the Cessna on left base for 04, and there's a rally at your left landing on the grass.
Rally inside Delta Yankee. Okay, downwind checks then, brakes check off, pedal pressure under the feet, the mixture is rich, the fuel is on, the flaps are up, the altimeters are set, height, heading and airspeed. Now when the runway makes good an angle of 45 degrees to the wing, that's the time to turn onto our